Tech Snippets Today with Joseph Raczynski.
All right, Riaz Mehta, CEO and founder of Ritestream, welcome to the program.
Hi, Joseph. Thanks for having me here today.
I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, there's a lot to unpack and think about today, but let me sort of frame this up initially by saying, are we ready to discover how the future of entertainment is being rewritten? One block at a time. Well, today we sit down with Riaz, the visionary CEO and founder of Ritestream. The production studio shaking up Hollywood's old playbook. He's creating a new breed of production studio that takes advantage of Web3 technology like NFTs and blockchain to open doors for creators and allowing audiences to play a much bigger role in how stories are made, funded, and shared. All right, there's a lot in there, and there's some things that might send off alarm bells for certain people. This is right in the heart of where I think things should be and what we need to be talking about. But first and foremost, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your background and what led you to Ritestream and founding it.
Absolutely. So, just my background initially is in tech. I grew up as a software developer, degree in computer science, and early part of my career was in technology. I'm from Sydney, Australia, and I was with the company. We went through the whole cycle of being a startup through to an IPO and a trade sale. So that was an exciting journey. And after the trade sale of the company I was with, I wanted to pursue my passion, which was more in the creative field, which I didn't know when I was going to university that I was actually creative at heart. And so I set up a television production company. I had moved to Singapore at that point, and I set up a television production company because one of my friends was in the entertainment industry, and I got introduced to a gentleman called Mark Burnett. He's famous for creating The Apprentice
Of
and
course. Yeah.
uh, what made Donald Trump who he is in some sense today as well.
That's right. True.
And yeah, and I got fascinated with the entertainment space, so I started working with Mark. We brought certain formats into Asia. I created formats that actually became global successes, broadcasts on Netflix, Hulu, a lot of the major platforms. Subsequently, I was nominated for Emmy Awards. I won
Wow.
Asian TV Awards and had a successful career in entertainment. And then uh, having come from outside the entertainment industry, I could see the challenges that producers faced and the gaps in the industry. Because when you're in it, sometimes you can't see it, right? But when you're an outsider and you say, hang on, why are things the way they are, right? You challenge the status quo. And that's what I started doing. That's kind of when I founded my Web2 business, which is a content distribution marketplace. And that's also got quite an innovative business model. We provide content as a service. So we disrupt the traditional licensing model whereby a broadcaster would have to license content for 3 or 5 year terms and pay upfront costs and so forth. So we're modernizing that segment of the industry. And then as a producer, I wanted to solve a very fundamental problem, which is how do you create content, right? How do you bring ideas to life? And historically, what's happened is you'd go to a film studio and you'd pitch them your concept, and that's provided you can get through the door of the studio. Normally, you don't even get a meeting.
Right.
So if you're lucky enough to get a meeting, and if you're lucky enough to meet the right executive and get the ear and pitch them, then it goes through quite a long process in whether that show or film gets actually greenlit. And even when it does, the studio takes control of the creative. You have suddenly given over creative control, and you have actually given up over 90% of ownership as well at that
Wow.
point. So here's my beautiful dream that Paramount or someone will make my film for me, and now you go through this journey, and then suddenly, yeah, the dream fulfillment is, yep, your movie might actually come to life. And by the way, 0.5% of uh, things that are pitched actually do come to life.
Unbelievable.
So the probability is extremely low. And so when you do get that dream fulfillment, you've lost your baby pretty much, and you've given it to somebody else, and then it becomes their thing and how they develop it and where they take it. So that's how the traditional industries operated for the last 100 years. And I wanted to change that, and that's how Ritestream came about. So Ritestream Studios, fundamentally the thesis around that is empowering creators to bring their ideas to life through their fan base, through the community, so that people that are actually going to watch the content can participate in the success of that content, that they can go on that journey, and the creator is allowed to do things that they're really good at, which is to create and to execute the vision that they've had in the first place without influence from other people saying, no, that's not going to be a blockbuster, it's not going to work, and so forth. So then creative ideas are allowed to really thrive in this kind of environment.
Fascinating. So no, that's greatly appreciated in terms of what you just described. Now, practically, how does that work? I'm assuming you have a website that people can go to and maybe pitch their ideas via that. Are they giving little short vignettes that they're putting up there? Are they putting a script up there that people are upvoting? How does that all work?
Yeah, so essentially what happens is they would come to the platform, they would upload their synopsis, the trailers, etc., that they might have, the budget that they're trying to raise, if they've got any actors attached to it, because that always helps as well.
Sure.
And what we look for are projects that have some degree of maturity and producers that have got a track record, because it is important for us as well to ensure that our community gets credible projects, that they're protected as well in that journey. So we help curate things that appear on our platform at this point. The vision, of course, is to go to a DAO eventually, where the community will vote and they'll say, yep, this project should get funded and made and so forth. But there's a process to getting there. And it's initially you need industry professionals that are going to help in that process, and that's the role that we play. And the way it comes about is a classic example. First proof of concept is a show that I created called CryptoKnights. And it's essentially, uh, some people call it the Shark Tank of crypto, but it's a lot more than just a Shark Tank of
Okay.
crypto. It's
Describe. I'm very curious.
okay. So the show is of course you've got a panel of investors, you've got OGs like Brock Pierce on that panel, you've got Ali Madhavji from Blockchain Founders Fund, and Carl Chassis and so forth. And of course Nikita from Luna PR. And the various projects that have been curated over several months through a casting process will come and pitch. But then the show is hosted by Adrian Grenier. I'm not sure if you remember Adrian from a series called Entourage.
Yes, of
And
course. Yeah.
and our vision was how do we connect Web 2 audiences to Web 3? And so Adrian serves as that bridge because he's interested in Web 3, but he's not deep in Web 3 per se.
Okay.
But he's a Hollywood name. And so he anchors the show. And he actually breaks the fourth wall, as we call it in the industry, that where he actually talks to the audience and breaks down some concepts for them as well, while projects are pitching. Make sense?
It does. Yes. Very, very cool.
And the other element around that is that we've got what we call the boiler room, where we've got KOLs. So one of them, Kim Lee, she was on a Netflix series called Bling Empire, hugely successful. So Kim is a renowned DJ, a massive following, and she again represents the voice of the common man that who may not understand what Web3 stands for. And so with that, what we're doing is we're creating touch points on how the audience can engage and how they can learn about crypto. So it's an edutainment format as well. So you learn about these projects, you learn about crypto, you learn how the space is evolving. So, and you're being entertained at the same time. So that's what CryptoKnights is about, and we're super proud that first season is picked up by Prime Video, Amazon, and it's broadcasting
Congratulations.
in. Thank
Fantastic.
you. and it's broadcasting in the US and the UK at the moment, and rolling out to the rest of the world slowly as well.
Amazing. Okay. So now help bridge the gap for people when we apply these like old school film and production and all that to now the Web3 variety of this. How are people, individuals, able to leverage whether it be a token raising event, or if it's like nominating someone, maybe they're throwing tokens their way, or maybe it's a DAO, decentralized autonomous organization that helps the voting mechanism work. Like, can you bridge that together for people so they'd
Yes,
understand how this all would work in this environment?
absolutely. Um, so maybe this, well, let's use Kryptonites as a use case, right?
Perfect.
So the way we did that for Kryptonites is we offered it to the community and we said, this is our vision. And literally, it was a vision at that point. It was a paper concept. And I, as a producer, have a track record. So I'm bringing that track record and saying, look, I want to make this amazing show, and it's going to reach a mass audience. And we have an amazing community, and they believed in the vision, and they said, we want to make this happen, right? So we did an NFT drop, and essentially the NFT drop is literally fractional ownership in the show in some sense, right? So you end up getting rewards from the show. So we've got 20 different projects featured on the show, and if you're an NFT holder, you end up getting token rewards from all of these projects as well. So you've automatically participated in 20 different projects in season one just by
Wow.
being part of CryptoKnights, which is phenomenal, right? And some are early stage, haven't released the tokens, and so you get in super early. And alongside CryptoKnights, we're also building a CryptoKnights launchpad where the audience members will be able to invest as well. So imagine seeing an amazing product on Shark Tank and saying, I want to invest alongside Kevin O'Leary. Now with CryptoKnights, you can invest alongside Brock Pierce and others that have vetted these projects. So that's where it's transformational. But coming back to that gap, that essentially now as an NFT holder, you get multiple benefits. So you benefit from the success of the show, but also you'll get early release of content. So you'll have behind the scenes access. We plan to do meet and greets as well. So, I have a party, and if you're an NFT holder, you can come and meet Adrian Grenier and meet celebs, that kind of stuff. So now suddenly, without having to spend millions of dollars producing content, you put in, a couple of $100 into this NFT, and now you become a producer suddenly. And so even if it's not about the revenue it generates for you, it's like uh, you become involved in a creative project and fulfill your own creative passions in a way, right? Because you've got a full-time day job, and you can't be a producer, but you want to participate in that journey. So this is a mechanism for you to do that. And we foresee that uh, films, TV shows, etc. in the future, this is how they're going to get made, with community participation, where the fans say, I want to back this project. And that's where you asked about the voting component. Once we get to a DAO, then people will be able to vote and say, there's 100 films listed here. Which ones do we want to back? And and then people will be able to vote. They'll hold the Ritestream token, the right token, and say, I'm a token holder, therefore I have a say in what happens within this ecosystem, essentially. So I can now decide, these 10 movies, they have real potential, and I'm going to vote for these to be on the platform, to get supported by the community. But the great thing is that when that happens, the film automatically has an audience as well. So these are the people that backed it. So boom, when
Yes.
it launches, they're going to go and watch it, and they'll talk to their friends about it. And there's a natural marketing machine behind that movie that normally you'd have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars to actually generate. So
No, wow. That's
yeah,
okay. It's very innovative. There's no question about that. So let me ask you about one or two things that you've mentioned so far that I thought I find really, really fascinating. And that is the first, let's talk about the NFT component. So let's say I get an NFT, it's sort of airdropped to my wallet. So now I have it in my wallet. Um, is it the potential if of course you can hold on to it, and you can then go to the events, you can meet people, which is all fantastic. But if someone like, you know what, I want to move on to something else, are they able to sell that or trade that? Is that a part of it too?
Yeah, absolutely. So you'd go to an NFT marketplace and you trade it because uh, if you think about a film production cycle, right, it's like from inception to release, it can be 9 to 12 months, right? So you
Yeah,
bought this NFT early in the piece, and now you say, I want more liquidity or I want to invest in something else. But meanwhile, the value of that NFT would have increased over time because now the film is actually, it was in ideation stage, now it's in production stage. It's got actors attached to it, and suddenly there's a real product there. And when it's about to be released, the value goes up even more. So now I've benefited because I've got a liquid asset that can be traded as well. You're not stuck in a typical film financing deal where you're waiting for years to get your return.
right
This,
on.
this is, yeah. So
No,
that is
that's
where it's
that's excellent.
groundbreaking.
Yeah, it truly is. Okay, the other part that I found really fascinating was the part that you mentioned about Kevin O'Leary, like a hypothetical. Kevin
Yeah.
O'Leary, who's like, oh, I really like this idea, um, and you as an individual watching this could also invest potentially in that idea. So we're talking about the tokenization of sort of assets or real world assets, right? Such that maybe it's the funding round for a production of a film or a show, but it also could be a tangible object or a service, whatever the case might be. Are you saying that's also a component of what could be working in this space too, or is that something you're looking towards in the future?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's ultimately when you have a community, then you have that ecosystem that can help fund not just films but projects as well. And so projects that appear on CryptoKnights, for example. So we'll have the CryptoKnights launchpad, and you can say that's an Blue Whale is an amazing project, and that's a real life case example. They're going to launch the token, I think, in a month or 2 months. But if you're watching the show, you could have actually come into that token early and come in at a lower valuation and benefit from the upside. So, as a community member of Ritestream, you have opportunities like that that would not be available otherwise, right? And
Totally.
it's and as a viewer of the show, for example, that this is a gateway for you that opens up to amazing opportunities.
And this could carry over to merchandising, right? If you had
Exactly.
a yeah, and then people could take advantage of that potentially as well.
Exactly. It goes across the board. So it becomes a thriving ecosystem where the community can engage at multiple touch points. So whether it be through the production of a film, through merchandising, through events, and you become this NFT holder that gets this unique access and unique merchandise thrown in as well. So there's lots of different ways that this can live and breathe. And that's what I love about the model that we've come from the heady days of NFTs where, anybody can create a bunch of pixels and uh, command millions of dollars for it, to real use cases for the NFTs that it's got utility now, whereby say, okay, I hold this, and there's real value accrual to it, so that it becomes more than a perceived value in that sense.
And I still run up against this almost every single day that I talk about it myself, going back to 2018, 2019, when I started talking about NFTs as a possible use cases for deeds to properties, to cars, things like that. Then 2021 comes along and people say, oh, it's a Bored Ape Yacht Club or it's a crypto punk. And they're still caught in that world. And I think it's going to be over the
Yeah.
next several years that people start to open up their eyes to like their immense potential within that space to do so many wonderful things, to prove asset valuation or assets, your value that you own something that's in your wallet, all these types of things. So it's a big part of it. So one of the parts that I'm kind of curious about is some people that go down this path talk about sort of decentralized models across the board, decentralized streaming, decentralized file sharing,
Mhm.
decentralized all of that. But what you've sort of talked about and please correct me where I go astray here, is almost the initial phases of raising awareness about a project, money for that project, and then hopefully when it takes off, potential fractionalization of that and partial
Yes.
ownership of that. But there's still a tie-in. There seems to be still a tie-in to the larger studios, be it Amazon or Netflix or whatever. So is it the thought process that it will still be somehow connected to those organizations, or do you feel like there's going to be this branching off into a space where it truly is decentralized and people will be consuming this in many different ways, and people will still be paid out on that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, look, I think it's the latter. I think that that's what we're building towards. And one element of the Ritestream ecosystem is Ritestream Plus platform, which is a decentralized streaming platform whereby you can watch content and you get rewarded for watching content in right tokens. So essentially, what we do is we generate advertising revenues and then we share those back with the community and the creators. So that's true decentralization. And, Amazon, all of these guys don't do that. And I think that it's going to be a journey, right? So initially, of course, decentralized platforms today do not have the reach that a Netflix does or an Amazon does. So as a producer, you still want to be able to do syndication deals and ensure that you get the eyeballs and monetize your content. But fast forward this 5 years into the future when platforms like Rightstream Plus are on that global stage, that they are competing with the Netflixes of the world, then they won't need that because now they've got a direct route to revenue generation. And they'll also get real analytics, which a lot of these platforms don't actually share. So you'll be able to directly engage with the consumer in so many different ways that it's not just about them watching your content, but it's generating ad revenues, and how much revenue is being generated on the blockchain, literally. So introducing that transparency layer, being able to integrate products into your content because now you know your consumer profile and you know what the brand wants to sell to. So there's amazing ways how this industry is going to evolve, but we're not there yet. I still feel blockchain is in its infancy, and just like the internet, it took a while. There was a lot of uh, excitement, noise, and so forth in the early days of the internet, and then the Amazons of the world came into play, Netflix of the world came into play, and I see kind of a similar evolution for Web3 as well.
Absolutely, no question. Okay, I have one more question, but before I get to that question, I would love to hear if there's anything that I missed that you wanted to discuss.
Thank you for asking that, Joseph. Um, we often see in Web3 that people are looking at, what's this token doing today, and where projects are being evaluated based on literally the stock value, so to speak. And a lot of people are missing out on the fundamentals. They're missing out on things like if I take the Amazon example, I think dot-com crash, Amazon stock went from I think $110 down to $5. And here's Bezos sitting there and saying, why is that happening? It's like, I've got a sound fundamental business and they don't see it. And he kept on building. And I think we're going through that hype phase within the Web3 at the moment, where people are just looking at what's the token price today. They're not looking at the fundamentals. And people that do look at fundamentals of a business and how each of these projects is transforming our planet and where this is going to end up, they're the ones that'll actually, the value investors, they're the ones that'll really benefit long term. And that we're building real businesses. This is not about launching a token, and it's not about launching an NFT. It's not about, being part of the board AP yacht club or whatever, right?
Right.
So it's about, it'll always come back to business fundamentals, and that's what we're business builders. We are strong believers in that. That's why we have created this foundational infrastructure that's built to last effectively. So I want to share that with people that when you look at projects in Web3, then do go into the fundamentals, understand what the founders are really trying to do and how this is going to disrupt the status quo.
Wise words and deep thoughts. I definitely appreciate that, no question. Okay. So my last question is sort of brought together two different concepts. So I've been, for better or worse, involved in blockchains since 2011, AI for the last, I'd say, 12, 13 years. So doing talks about that, writing about that, interacting with people around the world about those topics. And as they converge, which they're doing, we're starting, and then the creativity aspect of this, you're starting to see more and more projects that are sort of AI generated in terms of video and audio, and agents coming about, creating their own content. So my question to you is, looking out for 3, 4, 5 years, which is difficult to do, my personal belief is that you're going to start to see agents pitching their own ideas, their own concepts, their own storylines. I do think that will be tied back to the blockchain because you could do the revenue share that way, or other people could invest in these agents that are building. And this is kind of sad in some ways because you're talking about the human creativity being pulled away into the creativity that's likely constantly improving via AI. What are your thoughts about that possible eventuality? Is that a dark thought, or do you think that that is possible coming an outcome that could eventually come to be?
I love this topic because I was sitting with a venture capitalist yesterday and talking about exactly this thing and what the future looks like. And when we have AGI, then it is going to be the intelligence that's there will surpass humans. And I'm not convinced that it'll surpass creativity. That I think machines will learn and they'll become amazing at this, but will they become creative in their own right? I think that that remains a question. And as long as human creativity is there, there's always space for humans to actually leverage the power of the machine. That Mission Impossible doesn't have to cost $200 million to make anymore. It might cost a couple of $1 million, and you can still create that high caliber content using machine. But then this is where humans come in and creativity is injected. And I see that the role that the humans will play will be in fine tuning that. Machine will do 90% of the work, but there's still that 10% that will come in from the Spielbergs of the world that kind of go, this is next level. That this is not like everything else out there, because then the race becomes about, are you better than the other machine, right? And
Right.
if that becomes the question, then the answer is not there. I think the answer will always be, are you better than other creative human that inputs data into that machine?
I cannot wait because I think we're going to actually know in the next 5 years, if not a little bit longer, whether these things start coming to pass. I hope it doesn't, but we'll see.
I hope it doesn't either, in a sense. But I have tremendous faith in humanity, and that doesn't matter what machines do, how evolved they become. Human beings, the resilience that we have, the creativity that we have, that the consciousness that we have will remain unsurpassed. And I stay a firm believer in that.
For our AI overlords, I will say I might politely disagree with that, just to save myself in 10 years' time from them coming after me. But yes, I respect what you're saying 100%. And Riaz, thank you so much for your time today. You brought a lot of incredible thoughts and things that people need to start to thinking about in this space, this very important space as we move forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Joseph. Thanks for having me here. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've enjoyed our conversation. Thank you.
Absolutely agreed. All right.
Tech Snippets Today with Joseph Raczynski.